Hey, good morning everybody. Today's video, I'm going to be installing my Vantrue Nexus 4 Pro dash cam. So in a previous video, I installed a rear view mirror dash cam. It's awesome. The quality is great. I really like it. It's Pelsi brand. I looked into a lot of them before I got that one. But the thing that I'm not super happy about that one is I use it as a rear view mirror more than a camera. It's more of a dash cam for in case something happens and I want the video. I don't always want the rear view camera on because I took the rear view camera and put it under my truck to look forward. And it's like voice activated, so it's constantly turning itself on. And if you're using the rear view function, like just the mirror, and it turns on, it throws you off because now you're looking at a video and you got to focus different to see what's behind you. So I'm taking that out, not because it didn't work, I actually loved it, but I didn't like how it would constantly be turning on. It's voice activated, it's motion activated, so when I'm out there on the trails, it's constantly locking videos because it feels the jarring, which is a good feature. If you get in an accident, it's gonna lock the video, but when you're out bouncing around, it's constantly telling you video locked, and constantly turning on. So I'm gonna take that off. I'm gonna put this Vantrue Nexus 4 on there, and this video is gonna be about the wiring. So I'm gonna be hardwiring it in, not using the cigarette lighter that it comes with. These are great. The one I have in there now, I have it wired up with that, and I did hide the wire all the way up, but the wire does come out from the center console. So we're gonna eliminate that, and then I'm gonna run the wire from the camera back to the rear camera up in the headliner all the way along the side. You don't have to drop the headliner for this. You just tuck it into all the trim. Should be really easy. It comes with a little trim tool, so it's gonna be pretty good. So anyway, that's what the video is gonna be. I gotta start by taking the old one out, so I'll just time lapse that really quick and it'll take about 10 seconds. Okay, so getting that thing out took 27 minutes because I had wired it through the firewall, down underneath my truck to the center frame rail behind the transmission for the front-facing camera. So that was the hardest part to get out. I have all the trim down. I'm going to leave it down because I'm going to keep that out to put the new ones in, but I'll show you all the clips and everything you're going to need to do on that. But anyway, the old one is out. I'm ready to put the new one in, so that's next. I want to show you what comes with the camera and then what you need to actually hardwire it. If you just buy the camera, you can do it. You can plug it into the cigarette lighter with the cigarette lighter adapter to USB-C, and then you can just hide the wire from your center console. I tucked it in on the driver's side up underneath the center console and then up under the dash, up through the A-pillar and across the headliner. That's how I did it with my rear view mirror one. I'm not going to do that this time because I didn't like the wire coming out of the center console. Camera has the sticky thing, that's ready to go. Rear camera, same thing, sticky thing, ready to go. It comes with this really long USB-C to USB-C cable to go from the front camera to the rear camera. So I'm going to run this along the headliner trim all the way back to the back. That'll be in this video as well. But what I'm going to do is hardwire into a couple fuses. So I bought this kit. This is the hardwiring dash cam kit from Vantrue. I bought a second one of these from my wife, so I bought the Red Tiger, but this is the same idea. It's 12 volt. Battery protection. And basically what this box here is a low voltage protection. You can set it to either 12 volts or 11.6 volts. And by switching that, when the battery voltage comes down to 12, this will cut it off and stop pulling from your battery. Or if you have it to 11.6, it'll go all the way to 11.6, stop pulling from your battery. And basically what this does is it ties into accessory power, always on power, and ground. Very easy. It comes with these really nice little plug and play tap things with all the different add-a-fuse things you could need. It comes with the minis, it comes with the big if you have a different vehicle that still uses the old big ones. What you're going to do is there's 3 clips on the side, 1 clip here, and then 2 more over on this side. So really, and then normally when you pull these things down and there's something here, you got to be careful to pull it down a little bit, disconnect it, and then bring it the rest of the way. But they thought about it, knowing that the fuses are back here. So what I do is I just kind of pull here, same over here, pull it out. And then some of them like to get a little stuck. You just kind of give it a little bit more pull. And then as you can see, this one came off. Super easy though. You just find it, snap it back on there, and it's in there. And this is that extra wire I was talking about. So it comes down and it just hangs here from these 2 bolted strap things. It's just a piece of plastic that lets it hang. So, and then your fuses are right here. So now that we've got this door down, you can see that there are 3 clips here, 2 clips here, 1 right here, and 2 over there. And they're all pretty stiff. What you don't want to do is go super, super slow and then this gets so caught in there because you kind of need a quick jerk and it could actually tear the plastic here. So you just kind of get it, give it a quick jerk. If they do pop off, you just grab it, put it right back on there, and you're good to go. So in here are your fuses, and you can see here you've got the triple fuses on this side and just the regulars on this side. While we're inside, I want to show you the A-pillar trim is pretty easy. So you've got these two clips right here that go into those two holes down there. So they're just going to kind of guide in there, and then you've got a clip, a guide hole here, and a clip that holds it, and then your next clip is halfway down and it goes into that hole. These things are kind of weird. When you first pull it off, these two things are going to be attached, and they hold that A-post trim like off to the side. And to get it out, you'll notice you've got this little thing up here, and then you've got the two different directions right there. And on the actual post, that's the hole that thing guides into, and that's where the second one guides into. So what you got to do is when you put it back in, you put it in one way, turn it 90 degrees, put it in the other way, and when you take it out, they're going to be hanging on these things. So you got to grab it from here and twist and get the first one out, and then you can grab that one and twist it and pull the second one out. If you want to take it all the way off. The first time I did this, I left it on there. It got really frustrating, so I ended up figuring out how to get those off. I'll go into a little bit more when I put it back on and show you, but just so you know, when you pull it off, just grab from the top corner right here and just give it a yank, and then grab it here, give it a yank, and it'll come up and out, but it will be stuck with these two things. So you just gotta kind of pull it out just enough, reach in there, twist them, pull them, and go from there. All right, so we're inside the car now. Bear with me on some of these camera angles. I couldn't bring my big tripod in here, and I tried putting it on the other side, but you couldn't see what I was doing. So right now I have it sitting on my steering wheel. But basically, I'm thinking since this has a little sticky thing and the wire is long enough, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mount this thing right here above this plug, and then send the wires down, and then the other wire is gonna go up. I'll put all of the slack in the wire either up in the headliner and it's right up here, or I'll like line it up and down here and zip tie it to this wire right here. But I'll figure that out in a minute. So I'm gonna pull these. So what I did is I pulled this trim away. So I have them up here behind these two wires. I'm gonna set this up here now. Let me get the camera. All right, so these wires are gonna come down. I'm gonna bring them right over here and just tuck them in this channel there. And then once I put this back on, they're gonna be hidden. So let me get some of this slack. And do not be afraid of this trim. It's so easy. It just pulls right off, and then you look at it, it's a channel. So it's going on this pinch weld right here, and it's that channel. You just push it right back on. And you might get to the end and have it like be a little bit bowed out. Just push it in there and just kind of run it back and forth, and it will tighten right back out. It's not gonna get all weird and loose on you. I've had these things all the way down off the entire door sill, and I'll show you. I mean, you just pull it down. It's that easy. And then when you're done, you just push it right back on there all the way. And then it's like a little bit loose. You're gonna push it on and then just kind of like even it out. It's not hard at all. So don't be scared of this piece of trim. It's very easy, and it's just one single piece. So if you did have to replace it, you just buy a new one and put it in there. I have no idea how much they are. They're super high quality rubber, so not gonna have any issues with it. But anyway, that's just a really easy way to run wires up and down. You still gotta take this pillar off because you gotta get up to the headliner. Actually, you know what? You might be able to do that. Maybe. Well, no, we've got to have this off so we can put that there. But if you wanted to maybe mount your little brick thing down below and just do the wire, you might be able to not even take this A-pillar trim off and just hide it behind here. So once we're all done, I will see if that's a viable way to do it. Now I'm thinking about it, that's probably the best way to do it. So maybe try that. But anyway, I'm going to keep going with what I've got here. So I'm bringing this wire down. And then right here seems like a good spot to send it. You can see kind of a gap there. So I'm going to go with these wires. In through here. This is hard to do with one hand, but I want to get the video of it. And then I've got to get those wires inside of here somehow. So I'm going to go underneath here, look inside, and you can see the wires right up there. So I'm going to grab them and pull them down. This white thing here is the OBD2, but I'm going to grab those wires and pull them around. So we got our wires into our fuse area. We will tuck them away nicely later. I don't know if you can see that, but anyway, pulled the wires in through there. I had to grab them from underneath here. I don't know if you can see, but anyway, wires are in here, and then they come up here, and that's the wire going up. We'll hide it behind this trim, and I can actually put it back on there now to show you. And it's back on. Super easy. So I got the door down. I've got my first tap in there. So you take the fuse out of the fuse panel, put it in the front of the taps. So when you get the taps, there's one in the back. That's the one going to the wire off to the side. And then the one in the front is where you put the fuse that's currently in there. They're extremely hard to push into these spots. I ended up using my vise on the first one. I mean, I'm pushing, and it will not, like, I'm putting serious force on that, and I'm afraid I'm gonna bend it. So what I'm gonna do, and so I just wanna show you, I have this one in slot 35. There's a bit of a like lip here, so it's kind of, I mean, it's in all the way, but it's right up against the wire on the side. And then I'm also using 28 for my constant power, and I'm gonna go show you how I'm seating this thing. If you have channel locks, you could use that. You could push it against something, but then you run the risk of pushing it and then bending it. So what I did for the first one in my garage is an absolute mess. I put it in the vise. I open it just enough. So it's in the vise, just barely held in there. And then I slowly turn it and press it until it's seated. And now it's all the way in there. I mean, I could go a little further, but they're kind of hitting each other, as you can see there. So maybe I'll do a little bit more in there. All right, there we go. Now they are both all the way in, all the way seated next to each other. But again, I mean, not a whole lot of pressure, but just, it's really nice to be able to have this because it goes totally straight, and you don't run the risk of, like, when you're pushing it, bending it to the side and snapping something. I did already break one fuse. I had to go to AutoZone and buy a bunch more. But anyway, I started with a triple fuse, and I ended up putting it into the fuse thing and trying to pull it out. And when I pulled it out, it actually ripped it apart and left part of the fuse inside the freaking thing. So, I mean, these are, I would say, one-time use. Once you put a fuse in there, it's freaking staying. It's not coming back out. And then you'll notice on the sides, it's bent metal, so it's thicker than the regular fuses. So they're really, this was impossible to get put into the fuse panel without putting a whole lot of force and starting to, like, bend like whatever this thing is up against. I was pushing so hard I was moving the whole fuse box. So I'm going with the doubles instead of the triples. I think the triples would have been an easier way to go off to the side, but this is what I'm going with. So now I'm going to put this in slot 28. All right, so that's all the way in there. So as you can see, I've got my fuses in slot 28, and I put the original 30 back in there. It's not used, but I put the 30 back in there and the 5's in the back. And then down here in 35, the original was a 5, so I have the 5 in the front and then the 5 on the back as well. Now I'm gonna take these wires and hook them up, and then I'm gonna find any bolt. Basically, I'll probably use that bolt right there to ground. So it comes with this ground, and either that or right up here. But there's 2 bolts that are really easy to get to, it looks like, for ground. So that's what I'm gonna do. That's up next, and then I'll start running wires up in the headliner. Okay, so I did move the wire. I had it coming in right here on this side of this wiring harness and going over, but I wanted to ground to that, which is already a grounding post, so I know it's a good spot. So what I did is I actually took the wire underneath, and right there it's just sticking there, but I'm gonna get under and zip tie it. So I came out from the OBD2 area where it came in from where I had the seal, came across, and then I went up and you can see it coming up and out right there. And then I ran the ground there, and then the wire's just over here. I'll probably put them in like a little wire loom or something, but it's really not even in the way. I don't think I need to zip tie them or anything, because right now I can just put this back up and you never know anything's back there. So anyway, this is my wiring. Up here, we've got 28, and that's the always on, so that's the battery. And then you've got 35, this is the accessory power. So that one goes to, oh, I did those backwards. I'm an idiot. So I've got to switch those. Anyway, this is always on. This is accessory, and I just did the wrong things. I didn't read the label, so I'm glad I went through this right now for the video. I'm gonna fix that, and then I will come right back. I'm back. I corrected myself. I've got my fuse 28, always on power. It was originally a 30 amp fuse, so I've got a 30 amp in there in the back, and then I've got my new for the tap, a 5 in the front, coming down to this wire, going to the red, which is battery plus. Down here, fuse 35 is accessory. It was a 5 amp, and I've got a 5 added in. And both of these are not used, so they're not actually powering anything. And I've got this one wired to my accessory, and then I've got my ground to this grounding point, which is already grounding some other stuff. So I know it's a good ground going back to the negative of the battery. So that's the wiring. I'm going to tuck these back in here a little bit, make it look nice, and then put this right back up. And then all you do when you put this up is kind of, as you're going along, make sure things are lining up the way they should. And then once you get it close, just start snapping. It's hard with one hand and a camera, but all right, let me do it this way, because this is a two-hand job. That's what she said. Hey-o. Anyway, easy as that. You just snap and then make sure it's all flush all the way along, which it is, good to go. And now I've got this up here, my wiring's done, and I can get to sticking this and running this along this A-pillar, along the headliner, and then where I'm gonna mount the camera. So this is my low voltage sensor, turn off here, and it's going to eventually mount with the sticky stuff right on this paint right here. But what I wanna do is take my wire, there's plenty of it, and what I don't wanna do is wire here and then have all the extra up in the headliner. So what I'm gonna do is actually pull this back. I'm going to figure out where I'm going to put my camera exactly. I don't know if I want to put it right here, over here, maybe on this side. I might go with this side. That's where Robert did it. It looks like a good spot. The other option is, I mean, when you're driving, sitting right here, and I got to put my hood down, but if it's right here, it's not a bad spot either, because if you're sitting here looking, that's not something that you're looking at over that way most often. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to go grab the camera, figure out where I want to put it, and stick it up there and plug the wire into it, and then start tucking the wire back in all the way along here, in the headliner all the way along here, and then down, and then all the extra can just get coiled up right in here, and then I'll put the trim back on. And then I will keep this trim off, because I'm also going to bring the wire for the backup camera along this way down here, and then pull this thing back down, put it all the way along here, tuck it in this, all the way along this seal, and then as we go back, tuck it up in there, and then back across and figure out where I'm going to put it. I have to put it low, I think, just because I want to actually be able to see out the back instead of staring at the rack, but we'll figure out a good spot for it. So I've got my camera here. One thing I didn't mention at the beginning is I actually bought the circular polarizing filter that goes on here. So if you ever wore polarized sunglasses, or if you're a photographer and you have polarized lenses that you put on your cameras, you know that it makes a big difference in really sunny environments when there's a lot of glare. So this is a UV circular polarized. So basically there's threads inside of this. So you just thread it in here, really easy. And then with all circular polarized lenses, the lens part actually rotates. So you'll be able to see the screen, and then if something's blacked out, you can always rotate this one way or the other. But anyway, I went ahead and got it just because I do have UV filters or polarized filters for my cameras. I use them a fair amount. They're pretty handy. So I I don't know, I can't say I've used this yet, so I don't know if I recommend it, but I do recommend it for other photography and videography. So I went ahead and bought it for this. Now I'm gonna figure out where I want it. I just wanted to tell you that I did go with that on mine, and once I use it, I'll tell you how it was, or how it is. All right, let's hope I don't screw this up. All right, so that's on there. One good thing I will tell you is they do give you 2 of these, the rubber or the plastic things that go on there, and then the whole thing can slide off. I don't remember which way it goes, but the whole thing can come off of there. And then the camera also comes off, but I haven't messed with it. So you get 2 of the mounts with the stickies, just in case you screw the first one up. You'd probably need a razor blade to scrape it off and everything. But anyway, I'm happy with that right there. For anybody who's curious, wow, we were zoomed way in. For anybody who's curious, up underneath the rear view mirror, you have your forward-looking camera. You've got a bunch of stuff up here. But what I'm gonna have to do is I'm going to have to, on this thing, trim a little hole out of here for that wire to come out of that. So I'm gonna trim a tiny hole right, oh, this is awkward. All right, so this thing pops down. I'm gonna trim a tiny little hole just with a file right here for the wire to come out just from this little corner. But up in here, there's all sorts of great stuff. Someone was telling me there's actually USB-C power up here. I didn't see it when I was looking. Maybe that's in the other countries' models for dash cams already, but it's not difficult to pull this thing down. It's just a bunch of clips. So I want to show you where those clips are on here. So you've got a little guidepost in the front. That's what this thing is. And it goes into this hole right here. And then you've just got clips. So that's a little clip right there. That's a little clip right there. Little clip right here. There should be a thing on there, so it's probably stuck in there, and I'll pull it. So that, when you see something like that, that usually means there's a clip on there. And when you don't see it on there, it's probably stuck in the hole. Same with this one right here. So I'm going to check inside and up in here, find out where those were, see if I can pull those clips out with some needle nose pliers and put them back on. But anyway, and then you've got, where did I put it? Oh, this part here just slides in, and you can see again, it's going to slide in here, and then it has a couple little clips. This is awkward to do. Right, so I turned it over, but basically, once this thing's back up there, it just snaps back in, and I will flip it over here. You see there's guide holes and little clips, so it's all just held on by clips, and this little rubber thing here was tied into something up there, but I took it down when I pulled the headliner down the first time. So anyway, don't be afraid of this. You can pull it right off and put it right back on. It's hard to get around the rear view mirror. You have to take this part out from that part to do it. But I'll show you again when I put it back on. I just wanted to show you a close-up of where these clips are, and that if you pull it down, it's not the end of the world. All right, so my phone died while I was installing everything, and then once I got it all put on there, I realized I never put the wire for the reverse camera. So now I've got the wire for the reverse camera in here, the wire that powers the main camera, both coming in here, and then I filed another hole. So I have the hole at the bottom there for the power, and that hole for the reverse. And as you can see, the reverse is up here, power camera there, and then I'll put them across. So right now I'm gonna get this snapped back up in there, get the wires put in the headliner all the way across, and then I'll show you how I run the wire back to the reverse camera, and I'll get everything buttoned up. So hopefully within the next 30 minutes, I'll be done with all this. Oh, and I want to show you where I put the reverse camera. So I've got this rack on the back of my truck, so I couldn't put it too high. And you don't want to put it on the passenger side, because when the rear window opens, it comes this way and it would hit it. So I put it right there, and I'm going to run that wire straight up into the headliner and all the way up there. So I've already showed, but for this part, there's some spots for these to screw in, but you've got some guide holes. You just get it lined up and you just snap it in there. And there's nothing really holding the back in except for these two, and they're not all that tight. So it's kind of loose in this area here. That's just, it is what it is. I don't really know any good way to tighten it up in there. Even the guys at the factory said, yeah, it's kind of a bummer. I'm guessing that's what this thing is for, but it doesn't really do a whole lot to hold it up the way it should. So I don't even know why it's on there still. Just if you're curious, this is your forward-looking camera, so you got to be careful not to mess that up. Your lens is right there. You don't want to be banging it around, or else they'd have to recalibrate it. All right, so I showed from the other side, but I want to show from here too how easy this really is to do. So this just pulls right down, super easy. You can see where I had the wire. This is where the headliner comes. The wire is just right up in here, if you can even see it. And then through here, you can just pop this thing, sorry, you can just move this thing enough to get it in there. There is only a clip, so it'll like pop out if you need it to, but you don't even really have to. You can just tuck it in there and then pull the thing off the other side, and you can see where it needs to go through. And I mean, you have more than enough room to work it. And then you just snap it back in there, and then the sill is going to come back on. And then I have the wire again all the way up here. And then right now I'm working on tucking it into this one. So, and I'll hold the camera. This is going to be awkward, but I'm just tucking it in like this, not anything crazy difficult. And then here, just running it up in there. And now I've got all this extra wire. I didn't really think this through. I've got a ton of extra wire. So what I'll probably do is actually pull it all the way back around, but I just want to show you how I run it. Where you put your slack wire is completely up to you. And then for the actual wire going here, you can see it comes out of there. I'm just gonna bring it the angle I want it, tuck it up in the headliner, and have it come across like that. So you will see a wire coming from the headliner down to the camera, but you have to power your camera, so there has to be a wire visible somewhere. But that's it. And then all of this will get tucked up either in the headliner, or I'll pull all the slack through all of this stuff, and then have all the slack up here in this A-pillar. So I'll let you know how I decide to do that. The wire run, I didn't tuck it up in here just because I wanted to find a good spot where I could get it away. So you have airbags in here. So there it is. So I ran the wire as far back so the airbag spooled down. So I ran it back on the inside, like on the far side of the airbag. So I've got the wire run in here as much as I could. And then what I ended up doing is just tucking all of the extra wire. Let me pull this down again. All of the extra wire is just run back in there. I just tucked it in there. I've had this entire panel off. There's nothing back there. It's just empty space, so it's a perfect spot to put all the extra wire. And it's basically just coiled up and down right here. It doesn't rattle or anything. If it does, I'll take it back out and zip tie it and put it right back in there. But for now, I think I'm good. I'm gonna get this A-pillar put back on here. Well, this seal and the A-pillar trim put back on here, and I'm done. So again, you have an airbag here, so don't run your wires down by it. I keep mine up on top. There's already a wiring harness up here, so I just keep the wires up there with that, tuck it in behind it where I can. Okay, the 3M sticky stuff did not stick at all here, so it's just kind of, I coiled up the wires and stuck it behind the wiring harness that is existing. It's in here. I don't think it'll make any noise, so now I'm going to put this thing back in. That's the best camera angle we're gonna get. Apologize. This rubber thing is gonna be in the way a little bit. I'll put it in here and I'll take it back down once I'm done. So the first things you gotta do is get these two little guys to go into the holes and not go back behind the plastic. So the way to do that is to get it upright and then slide it in, and then just gotta get it tucked in there. So now we've got the base in place here, which is perfect. Now these things, there's little spots for them to go in. So like I said, there's two different angles you gotta go to. So you get the first one in like this, you stick it in there, and then you've got this little twisty thing here. You twist it the other way, stick it in there and twist it back, and then it holds this thing in place. I don't really know the point of that. Maybe it's for when the airbag goes off so this thing doesn't go flying. That makes sense to me. That's the only thing I could think of why it would be in there. There is not one on that side because that one has a handle and you can't even undo it. So that's probably what it's for. It's probably an airbag thing so this thing doesn't go flying across and like hit the passenger in the face or something. So I got the first one in there, the second one in there, and it's twisted, and then it gets kind of tight to actually work in here when you're doing the second one. And really, as long as you get the first thing in, you're pretty much good. But if you can get both, do it. So there's one, there's two. All right, so now those are both tucked in the way they should be, and they go in and out. And you can see it coming out the other side. I don't know if you can actually see it on the camera or not, but you can see it just goes right through. So now it's in there, it's not going anywhere. And now the hard part is getting this clip here lined up with the hole that it's got to go into. I mean, I have a trouble every time, and I think I've bent this thing so many times that it's not actually going in, but it still holds just fine. I'm gonna pull this down again because the rubber goes on the outside of this at the end. So I'll pull it down so you can actually see. All right, so you just gotta give it some love taps. Make sure everything's lined up, and if it's not going, just with gentle pressure, if you're sure it's lined up, just start hitting it. And you put your seal back on. Wires are all hidden. Camera is over here lined up. Trying to think if I forgot anything. Now I just got to set it up, but first I got to clean all this crap up. I got a lot of tools in here, but I want to go through just a quick once over of what we did. So all the wiring is behind here. You just pull, 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 pull. It all comes down. You don't have to worry about this clip. They left enough slack in there. I've got my constant battery power up here in a 30 amp circuit. That's number 28. Then I've got number 35, that's a 5 amp circuit, and that is accessory only. And then I've got it grounded to a good ground spot there that's already being used for ground. And then to put this back, you just, oh, one of the clips came off. That happens. So when the clip comes off, you just put it back on wherever it was. Try again. It's as easy as that. I'll snap back in. So I got my power coming up. I ran it inside of, got my power coming up inside here. I had this thing off, came up inside the A-pillar trim, went across the headliner, took the mirror cover stuff off and put 2 little file holes on the side for the wire to come out of. Ran it all up in there, all the way across. And then I ran the wire for the back all through here. I tucked it far enough back inside the headliner so that it's behind the airbag. So basically you got like this hump on your headliner. It's on the far side of the hump there. All of my extra wire is coiled up and down here. And then I've got it run along there and it comes right back down here on this side. Make sure it is on the driver's side because when your back window opens, it opens that way. I think. I hope I didn't screw that up. If it opens towards me, I'm gonna be pissed. Maybe I should check that. But anyway, that's where I have it. Let's check it out. Okay, so it's installed. I've got the app on my phone, but I'm recording on my phone, so we can't actually see it. There's a lot of different settings. So I have it set for a 3-minute loop. I also have it set for a frame rate of 5 frames per second in parking mode, and I set all the parking sensors to the lowest possible threshold of motion. So we'll see how that works. I'm not really sure how good that's going to be, but I think overall, so like when I'm driving, we'll go wide angle here, that's what I see. So I've got my rear view mirror and then the camera there. I probably will not drive with the screen on, so it won't even be something we can see, but it also has a camera looking back in here, so if my kids do something crazy or funny, I can always get that recording too. And then you can mute the interior so it can't hear what you're saying. You can turn it so that the inside camera's not even on. But overall, it's pretty good.
It's over!